What is he saying that needs to be silenced?
I don't know why they're so scared to tackle this issue.
Once you admit to something like this, it's too big of a oopsie daisy.
When they find things like this that are harming people, that they bring it out into the world.
You leave people no choice.
Wait, what?
This is an issue that will make or break a country's future.
Culture of normalizing this is so out of control.
Welcome back to the Those Who Speak podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Courtney Schneider.
I'm Christina Woods.
And we are really excited to fire up an emergency podcast here today because we have some things hot off the press that we want to talk about that are really important to us, namely what's going on in Australia with silencing doctors. We just wanted to give our responses to those actions because we have just had a podcast recently, a couple months ago, with Dr. Andrew Amos, who has been silenced by his regulatory agency, APRA. He's an Australian psychiatrist who spoke to us about potential risks in the medical industry as well as the education department in terms of potential harms of gender-affirming care, of gender ideology, and how that can impact kids in a negative way. So we couldn't think of a more appropriate time for the opening quote of our podcast: a society who drifts further from the truth will punish those who speak it. This is exactly what's going on in Australia. So we actually highly recommend that all of you go and listen to our Respectful Relationships mini-series. It's the second episode with Dr. Amos. You can hear him speak. He's been silenced for now, but you can hear about 40-minute interview through our interview with him. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, and we're across social networks, but you can really hear the bulk of those interviews on YouTube and Spotify. So please go and check it out. Before we begin, if you find our content useful, could you please subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening here and share this with other parents, share this with other people you think need to have this information, because if we don't get our voices out there, we're not going to be able to protect our kids. Christina and I have some responses to these recent censorship attempts here in Australia, and we will get into that. But first, I wanted to bring your attention to some big movements in the gender realist space, actually, or the child protection movement, which is the breaking news about, bear with me, Trump's Save America Act. This announcement is massive, and I will tell you why. Everyone is sort of talking about the Save America Act being about free and fair elections. Okay, that's fair. These are the first three pillars of the Save America Act. And what does Save America mean? It means that we're saving our country from whatever potential paths that we're on right now that are not good. Okay, so all voters show ID, all voters citizenship, no mail-in ballots. Fair. There are 5 pillars of this act. The 4th and 5th pillar: no men and women's sports, no transgender mutilation surgery for children. Saving America is now being defined as saving children from gender ideology. 2 of the 5 pillars. We are not going to have a country anymore if we continue down this path. Furthermore, over the weekend, it was announced that there will be no new bills passed until this is passed. That means there's no government. There are going to be no new executive orders or any legislation passed until we stop this, okay? So TikTok, the time bomb's ticking. We are going to be finished with this soon, but we have to keep fighting it, parents. We can't sit back. We have to keep going because it's changing hearts and minds that is going to be the final frontier of this. And I also want to point out to all those amazing politicians and people with influence out there who agree with us, who are on our side, people like Dr. Amos who speak up, people like Dr. Jillian Spencer speak up, other politicians who also speak out on this issue. There is no timing on this issue. There is no let's wait till the news cycle calms down. Trump's in the middle of a war with Iran, yet he is still announcing to the world no more gender ideology for kids. There's no more excuses. There's no more timing. There's no more news cycle. This is an issue that will make or break a country's future. And we have to take note of these huge, colossal movements that are happening. We have to celebrate them, but we have to keep going. If we're going to say, okay, saving a country means we save children from gender ideology, and then we look at Dr. Amos and see, well, look at this guy has spoken up against gender ideology and gender affirming care and its effect on children. Maybe he's onto something. maybe this timing couldn't be better. I'll go through the facts about Dr. Andrew Amos and what has happened, in case you're not up to speed. So on 26th of February, 2026, the Australian Health Practitioner Regulatory Agency, APRA, who oversees hundreds of thousands of health practitioners and regulates them in Australia, and the Medical Board of Australia imposed conditions on Dr. Amos's medical registration of Queensland. The regulator used immediate action powers, meaning they put in these powers and these restrictions on him before an investigation was concluded or even started. So that it's kind of like, I would say, in my opinion, kind of like a gag order. So
Right.
meaning restrictions can be applied before investigation, and if the board believes there may be a risk to the public. Now, in my opinion, he's speaking out on existing risks to the public. Key restrictions placed on Dr. Amos: prohibited from posting or engaging on social media about gender medicine, gender identity, or transgender people, barred from direct clinical contact with patients, so he cannot have any clinical interaction with patients, effectively preventing him from practicing. And he is allowed to work only in non-clinical roles, such as research and education and advisory policy staff. Okay. This action by APRA came on the back of multiple complaints, 4 complaints from my research. 2 of them were anonymous, including just complaints about social media posts. So statements about gender affirming care that he has made. So 2 anonymous complaints and 2 additional complaints linked to public statements on social media. Like, what is he saying that needs to be silenced? Okay, he says he's questioning the evidence of gender affirming medical treatment. So questioning not the people, but the medical institutions' own processes and research. He's not saying anything about those human beings. He's saying he's having an inward critical look. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Don't we take, I'm not a doctor, but don't doctors take an oath to do that? A social media post about trans-identifying male breastfeeding an infant. A post in which he allegedly misgendered a transgender activist or academic in another country, in the UK, so not even in Australia. Statements suggesting there was no reliable evidence distinguishing some gender identification from psychiatric conditions. Again, an inward critical look at your own prescriptive practices. So critics said these posts could be discriminatory or harmful. Now, if you want to hear him speak, you can go take a look at our podcast, 40 minutes on the specific topic we were looking at. It does not go into the entire gender medicine, gender affirming care model, but we look at what's going on in the schools. We would just like to say we support Dr. Amos. We believe that he, in the end, will be victorious, and we believe he speaks the truth. I just also wanted to tell you that Rachel Wong has a really good post up on her X account about hearing Dr. Amos in a speech setting where he talks about more the medical side of things. I just wanted to open it up to Christina. She has some really great analysis of what's going on. Christina.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro, Courtney. I feel the exact same way Courtney feels about this. It's hard to watch someone who we have admired for so long. You know, I've watched all of his speeches and read all of his materials. And obviously we then were lucky enough to have him on our show and interview him. And he's such a lovely person. And he really, at the end of the day, just wants what's best for young people and all people. It's really made us go back to the drawing board and look, okay, what, as a doctor, what are the 4 most important things about this whole story and situation? There are 4 things, which I'll share with you, and then we can dig down a little deeper and get into it. But the first one is obviously the most important, and it is that the core duty of psychiatry and medicine is the ethical obligation to raise concerns when treatments may harm patients, especially vulnerable groups like children. Doctors across the board, the very first thing that they have to take is the Hippocratic Oath, which is first, do no harm. A second main topic that they have to go through is informed consent, especially with minors. And the third, obviously just as important, is they need to be providing evidence-based practice. So those 3 things. The second is we're going to discuss is regulatory capture, which is what exactly has occurred in this situation. The third thing we want to just touch base on are, international developments, how the West is reevaluating youth gender medicine. This isn't just, only Australia. This is obviously all of us are in the same boat. In Europe, in the US, in Canada, in Australia, and New Zealand, we're all trying to figure out what's the best path here for these these children and young people to move forward. The last thing that we are going to cover is accountability for medical boards and regulators and what can really be done, because obviously they are the one who have the oversight on these doctors. And we need to go over as a society, how are they held accountable when they are removing doctors like this who are truly just trying to do the very best thing and do their jobs, and they're not only pulling them from their livelihoods, this is their reputation. This is their names. It's a really big deal to them. I mean, imagine spending all those years in medical school, all those years practicing, and then to have something like this happen. It's really devastating.
I'm going to stop you there, Christina, because it's like anybody who's coming out into the public making these statements, it's because they've tried behind closed doors many times. And they really, I think a lot of people, especially myself, I can speak for myself here, it's that when you have tried to reason with people in power and with boards, and then you're not getting anywhere, you leave people no choice but to go public with what you are seeing.
Right. Well, the public is who's going to change it, because there's only so many presentations he can give to other psychiatrists and other people in that space. But are those the people that are really going to push policy and push votes and push?
They could,
but they're only a small subset, I believe. Of
right.
The
ones that,
the majority, the everyday people like us. You know, it's the awareness to us that is moms and dads and parents that is really going to push public change and public policy. While that's important, I just think it's only tip of the iceberg. So it's critical for these doctors, when they find things like this that are harming people, that they bring it out into the world. And fortunately, for us nowadays, we do have social media, so the word can spread a bit faster. And if there's a practice that's harmful, we can try to end it quicker.
I think that puts people in power in a state of fear, intimidation, when the public can reclaim a bit of power with knowledge. And so that's a struggle. And we're in the middle of that struggle.
The second main bullet point was informed consent for minors. And I mean, if anyone's been following this whole movement, a big issue is a lot of people say, doctors and social workers and teachers and parents say, how can my child be old enough to make these lifelong decisions if they're 13, 14, 15, and they want to go on puberty blockers that 98% of the time leads to cross-sex hormones, and that can lead down the path to surgical intervention. You know, how do they know at 14 that they never want to have children, you know, or that they aren't going to have a fulfilling sexual life?
They don't. And the medical industry knows that. They've admitted it. So it's not, and this is what Andrew Amos goes for. He doesn't go for those children that are confused. He doesn't go for they don't know. He says the solution that we are presenting to them is not just absurd, it's completely dysfunctional and harmful.
Oh, yeah.
So it's on us because we're presenting this to them.
With all the detransitioners that are coming out now, first of all, suing in the United States and winning, coming out in the UK, coming out in Australia, everywhere, why aren't they listening to these kids who are coming out the pipeline on the other end going, oh my God, I was in a bad place of depression. Why did the adults let me do this? I was sexually assaulted. I was, all these other underlying reasons are what led them to their gender dysphoria. And that's a psychiatrist's job to figure out why and listen to them and ask questions, no matter what their issue, no matter what a patient's issue is. It could be of anything. Their goal is to get to the core of why. Why do you feel this way? When did this start? How come you? And they're not even allowed to ask those questions. They're cut off and they have to just say, oh, you think you are? Well, okay, I guess you are. And that is the most irresponsible, inhumane thing that a psychiatrist could possibly do to a person, let alone a child.
You and I are not psychiatrists, but any person with a functioning brain and a functioning soul knows these basic facts about human interaction and people who are trying to help you from a mental health standpoint. Exactly.
Yes. And, the third big thing is evidence-based practice. And this is a really big one, because a lot of people in politics will say, oh no, this is evidence-based. But a lot of doctors around the world and highly regarded psychiatrists, psychologists, medical boards are saying, wait a minute, who are these groups that are saying this is evidence-based? The CAS review in the UK 2 years ago said it's extremely low, if any, evidence-based that this is the right path for kids. The American Medical Association, Finland, France, and Norway have pulled back on this for minors because it just isn't strong enough. All these countries are doing this, yet it's like Australia has its ostrich head in the sand.
Well, and it's like, what we have to actually stop and ask ourselves, why is that happening in this country? Why are we slow to do something that's morally the moral thing? And what is going on? Like, what's in our education system? Are we teaching morality to our children? What are we? I think we're just teaching kindness. I think we're just teaching respect
Kindness.
Everyone's emotions, and we're not. I mean, morality is. I don't think kindness is in any sort of. I don't know if it's a moral thing. I think it's a delivery thing. The moral thing, in many instances, is not kind. You can say it in a way that's buffered, but to do the right thing sometimes is not
Kind.
sugar and sweet. I think we need to take
yeah.
a hard look at our society in Australia and say, where have we gone that we not only get to the place where we're doing this, but we cannot self-correct?
Right? It's almost like Australia's gone so far that it would be disastrous to admit, oh my God, we were wrong. We got this wrong. We are so sorry. We thought it was right at the time. We thought these doctors and, all this evidence that was coming forward from these certain groups, we believed them and we trusted them, and they got it wrong. And then hence we got it wrong. And we need to, self-correct and do what's right for kids as of right now with the information we have right now, not from 2017, not from 2015, not from 2021, from right now in 2026. We need to self-correct. And I think they are going to die on that hill.
Yeah,
They're
you're right.
going to die on a hill, because if they admit that they were wrong, and then there's all these young people in Australia that are like, wait, what? I just medically changed myself and ruined myself for the rest of my life, and you're the adult here and you're saying whoopsie daisy. They're so afraid of that happening that they're just gonna keep going and keep.
Well, they are, because
once
you admit to something like this, it's too big of a oopsie daisy.
If they continue, more kids are going to get hurt. So it's better to just say, my bad, and end it, and just and not.
And this is the thing. It's like TikTok. This is what I'm saying. Like, we're literally in the middle of one of, I say we because you and I are both natively American. The United States is in one of the most major military deployments in the history of the country. Okay, this is huge. Yeah, we can pause in the world. We can pause and say, okay, no to this. I'm putting it at the highest levels of government. There's just no excuse anymore, guys. There's just no excuse for the news cycle. There's just no excuse for having another conversation. There's no more excuse for a middle ground. Dismembering children for a religious ideal of, gender needs to stop in its tracks right now, no matter what else is going on in the world. This will save the country. This will save Australia. This will save Canada. This will save New Zealand. This will save all these countries that this is still happening in. Kudos to every country who's turned it around. The United States, the administration is declaring war on this ideology, and this is where you have to just say, okay, it's time to act, everyone at the same time. Like right now, we can't wait anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And psychiatrists exist to protect patients, right? And
yes,
punishing doctors for raising concerns discourages them from coming forward if they see something wrong happening. It discourages whistleblowers. And whistleblowers, if you look historically at anything that's happened, they expose harmful medical practices. Things evolve, things change. Once more evidence comes out, you need to sit back and reevaluate. That really leads me to the next thing, which is the regulatory capture. Institutions designed to regulate a profession, if they become aligned or captured by a particular political or activist position, it's over. And that is exactly what has happened in Australia, because these activist groups, for example, like ACON, for example, who's, gives social points and does award ceremonies for various groups, I got to give them props. They've done a really great job in infiltrating law, media, the Department of Education, defense, you name it.
We have to follow the money on that.
They have infiltrated everything, and I mean, they did a good job. Look how bad it is. Look how far it's gone. But it back to, like, from a medical point of view, it's so destructive to have a board that's captured by any ideology, because this is the outcome. It's becoming a systemic issue because what's happening? Doctors are self-censoring. Scientific debate disappears, and public trust in medical institutions declines or ends. Okay? Like, normal everyday people, I would assume we are just kind of like, I don't believe anything that's on the news. I don't believe anything that this doctor is saying. All psychiatrists. I had friends at other parents at my children's school in Camberwell, and some were lawyers, some were psychiatrists, some were psychologists, whatever. And I had some that refused to even practice anymore because they just couldn't do it. They said, there's no way I can't continue on with my job, because I'm not going to lie to a young person's face. I'm not going to affirm them. And I, at the same time, simultaneously, don't want to get my license revoked. And they're like, we're just going to sit this one out for 5 years.
I have to say something on this one, because this is interesting. Because I look at my alma mater and I look at these universities, and university used to be a place where mostly men, or whatever. I mean, we don't have to get into the gender stuff about it, but a university place was not necessarily a warm and a cushy environment. A university was a place where geniuses went to be very disagreeable, to find truth. And the pathway to truth, I don't know if you've ever seen a parliament session or anything where you need to come to a final resolution. You do that through free speech, and it's an ugly process, but thank God we have it. It doesn't matter if it's really an ugly process, because we got to get there.
Yes. It's like Oxford. It's like the debates at Oxford. Luckily, they're a woke school, but luckily, thankfully, they're still debating. That still is happening. And thank God for them.
Exactly. When you have a university system, even a medical school system, you have to have that. You have to have a culture of disagreeability if you're going to get to truth. But what's happened is the culture in the university has completely flipped over and says, if you say anything that I find offensive, it's not a safe space. So we're never going to get to the truth in the university as long as that culture persists. And that culture has now extended to medical school, and now extended to medical boards. And when you're up here at the tippy top, and you're a genius like Dr. Andrew Amos, and you're disagreeable because you are smart and you have to get to the truth, this is what should have been happening all along, from tertiary education and onwards. We should have that culture all the time, all throughout. But we are now so far out of it that it is all feelings-based, it's consensus-based, it is not truth-based.
No.
Geniuses are never in a pack, ever. People who speak truth are never in a pack. There's a reason for that. Okay, so you can't silence them. You're going to get nowhere. It's going to be a massive social regression, and that's what we're seeing.
It's really sad, actually. I unfortunately, Courtney, think Australia will be absolutely the last to fall. And my husband's, as you know, Australian, and he's always said, Australia is the last one to get everything. Like, Australia gets everything 9 years later. I mean, we're going to be so far past this in UK, probably even Canada, United States. We're going to be so far past this. If they're still here, they're going to be the laughing stock.
Well, I hope your husband's wrong, and I hope you're wrong.
I do too.
And I'll just say a little message: if this ever hits the ears of any Australian politician, there's no excuse that Australia does not lead. This country is a paradise. I've said it before. We have the most incredible modern cities in the world, hands down. There's no excuse not to lead.
No.
I don't care if Trump's not doing it, or if Obama's not doing it, or if Starmer's not doing it. We can lead, guys. We can lead down here. You don't have to wait for where the wind is blowing. There is no reason. There's no excuse. Australians are the best of the best. They should be leading the world. They should not be following. They should not be looking at the UK and America for every little thing they're doing and copy paste. No, have some confidence. Go out there and tread the way for everyone else. Show them, be an example. It's so much better to be an example than to follow.
Especially more courage from the Liberal Party. That's supposedly a conservative party, or the party for everyday people, and, of common sense. And they are just, I don't know why they're so scared to tackle this issue. It is a big issue. It's not a fringe issue. It's affecting moms and dads in everyday life and everyday schools. This is the biggest issue of our time.
I mean, this is your future generations here.
This
These
is
are
the
your
biggest
future
issue.
generations.
I mean, there's a show I just saw yesterday coming out in Australia. Were you the one who we were talking about this, Courtney? And the first episode is about some girl's first day of school when she's 14 as a transgender girl. And this is like on after school TV. It's like, I almost have no words sometimes. It's the culture of normalizing this is so out of control.
It's out of control.
It's out of control.
And like you've said, and it really hit home for me, I guess. You know, the timing of this stuff is weird, but it really hit home for me. It is a psychological manipulation of girls to give up their boundaries. That is not okay.
Yeah, no.
That's not okay.
No,
that's just insane to manipulate young girls from a very early age, that they don't have privacy. They don't have a right to privacy. If they say anything about having privacy, then they are bad people. They're being taught that in the school from age 5.
They absolutely are. As anyone who's
as we showed you guys, go and look at our mini series on respectful relationships.
Okay, so the next thing, international developments. Obviously, there's a lot of international reviews in the pediatric gender care area, because this is such a big deal for all those out there. Please take a look at, especially the CAST review in the UK that was done a couple of years ago. Excellent, took years to write, from a very neutral place, because as people may know, they had the Tavistock Clinic, and then that ended up shutting down because, this report. As mentioned, there are restrictions and new guidelines in several European countries in regards to this. And now the trend is to move towards more cautious psychological approaches rather than early medicalization. So, kind of letting the kid go through puberty, trying to, understand, watchful waiting, because they know that a lot of these kids are sometimes same-sex attracted, are depressed, have autism, social contagion. I mean, there's a whole list of things that this can fall under, but just let the kids be kids. Let them go through this period. Let them go through this time. Obviously, there should still be therapy if they need it, or a psychiatrist or psychologist if things are really, really tough for them. Of course, we need to be there to support them. But by giving into their delusions is not kind or helpful.
Well, and it's also not kind to plant those delusions.
Correct.
By adults. And like Helen Joyce has said many times, it is a human right to go through puberty. To take that away, we believe, in our opinion, it's a human right violation.
It definitely is. I mean, these kids are going to lose, possibly if it starts very young, the ability to make sperm if they're boys, make eggs if they're girls, loss of sexual function if they continue down this medical pathway. And not to mention the double mastectomies for the girls and phalloplasties that happen. It's
a horror show.
To say it doesn't happen or isn't happening, yes, it is. And it'll be interesting to see. They're hiding the evidence of how many kids Australia has put on puberty blockers. They're trying to hide that right now, because if kids are put on those, 98% of the time, they're going to go on to cross-sex hormones. So
wrong sex hormones.
Well, right. The final thing is these medical boards that have been captured. What is their accountability? What can be done about it? What can be done about it are judicial reviews, independent investigations, or parliamentary oversight, appeals through professional tribunals, and greater transparency requirements through decision-making. I mean, these are just 4 examples of what can be done, but I think there needs to be a really, what is it called in Australia? A Royal Commission or a Royal Commission into the Medical Board of Australia. I know there's one main medical board, and then in each state there's kind of sub-medical boards. I think there needs to be major investigations into who's on these boards. Who are they? What do they support? What's their training? And how are they making these decisions, and with what evidence? Where are they getting that this is evidence-based? From what studies?
Well, goes back to is Australia going to lead or follow? They probably got all this stuff from America.
Yes.
Or the UK, unfortunately. It
America.
Probably trickled in from, the headquarters of regulatory capture and just disseminated to the rest of the world.
I mean, unfortunately, California started it. It thought it was being progressive and open-minded. And to be honest, when I first heard about it, it wasn't affecting kids. It was a few adults that were, like Laverne Cox and Bruce Jenner's now Caitlyn Jenner, and I'm thinking kind of, live and let live. I mean, it's a few people who it didn't even strike me until it started trickling down into children, sprinkling into schools and into curriculums and into this has seeped its way into everything from sex-based spaces, elimination, curriculum, everything. It is actually astonishing to see in 7 or 8 years. I think it started, I guess it's been almost 10. It started in 2014. In 10 years. I mean, remember life before Courtney, 2014, before all this? I miss those days. I yearn for those days. I mean, life was much less complicated and simpler, and something really sinister just took over.
Christina, thank you for all that analysis. I think we just wanted to give our take here. We want to keep amplifying this issue as much as we possibly can and give voice to a movement that they are trying to silence. And we just keep getting louder and louder. And that's what's going on. Everyone, please stay tuned. If you found this information valuable, please hit like, please share it, please subscribe to our channel. We will be making content regularly and having guest interviews, and please stay tuned. Follow those who speak and leave a comment that you subscribed. We'll comment right back. And Christina and I thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.